Welcome, everyone. We are just getting ready to live stream over to Facebook. Looks like that is happening now. If you are watching over there, say hello in the notes in the comments section. I'd love to be able to see you. I'm not sure I'll be able to see you in real time, but I will try my best to. And I'm opening up the comments section so that I can see uh, any comments if you choose to put some in there. So let us begin. Welcome to the Thriving Creative. I am Gabrielle Senza. This is where art, money, and pleasure meet, and where we are all about creating a thriving, abundant life for creative people, for heart centered entrepreneurs, for people that just really want to live a beautiful, abundant, um, kind of service oriented, heart oriented lifestyle, whether that's through their art, through their poetry, their music, through healing work, through just being light bearers in the world. Um, I love doing this work. I love supporting people on their missions to live a meaningful, purpose filled life, especially from the heart. And that's why I do this. I'm very excited to talk about today's episode, which is Pleasure Labs, experimenting with joy to elevate your creative energy. So I'm looking over here at my notes and let's see if I will be able to see any comments that come in over here on Facebook. I'm not sure I'll be able to, but hopefully I will. Okay, so what I wanted to share today is really to talk about how we can use joy and relaxation as key elements to not just recharging ourselves and our energy, but also to infuse our creativity. So recently, this happens a lot to all creatives, right? We hit sort of a roadblock in what we're working on. Our brain doesn't really want to function and come up with ideas, and we might be second guessing ourselves and wondering, like, why am I doing this thing? I can't make any decisions that make sense to me right now. How can I push through and get this done? Sometimes we're on deadlines. Often we're on deadlines if we're writing grant proposals or preparing art work for an exhibition or anything like that, right? So we can get really crunched in the way we're feeling around the work that we're doing, and especially difficult when it's a creative thing, when we have to use our creative minds, not just like physical labor, mindless task. I can do those all day long. I love doing tasks like that where I don't have to think. However, a lot of my work, of course, as an artist, an activist, an empowerment coach, requires my brain, requires me to be thinking and to be on. And like everyone and anyone, I also get exhausted. I get tired. I get burned out. And this just happened to me earlier this morning, actually, when I was preparing for the day. And I had a bunch of decisions to make, and I was trying to like work through them. And I got to a point where it just was like spinning my tires in the mud. Have you ever had that happen? Where it just feels like you're efforting and efforting. You have your foot on the accelerator to get out of the mud, but instead the wheels are just spinning and you're really not going anywhere. Well, that happens to me a lot when the deadlines and the overwhelm and the sheer amount of things that I have to do is stacking up. And I just am like, oh, I can't do this. I just can't do this anymore. So what I do often involves either stepping outside and getting some fresh air, maybe even popping over to the coffee shop to grab, an iced mocha latte or something like that, just to change the environment. But when I'm really exhausted, uh, which also happens periodically, my favorite thing to do is actually just lying down, taking like a 5 minute rest. It's not a nap. It's just like a deep, slow breathing meditation, usually not guided, but sometimes it is. And just relaxing into being present with my body and my breath. and the sensations that I'm feeling inside my body, uh, outside my body, and just becoming really present in the moment. That can really, first of all, calm my nervous system, which I talk about a lot on this show and my former podcast, Thriving Live. It's like, how do we calm our nervous system? How do we slow down? Why and why do we want to? So I'll be exploring some of those things today in this episode and explaining some of the science around that. And also today, we're going to talk about the concept of a pleasure lab, which is a dedicated space or a mindset even for experimenting with joy and rest to see how it can boost your creativity. Okay, so here we go. So there are many, many ways that we are challenged by, common challenges that we face are things like burnout and stress, and for creatives, creative blocks, right? So everyone can have plenty of experience, I'm sure, with burnout, with stress, and then also even sometimes it's just writing a presentation, a report, an email. It doesn't have to be something so difficult as an artist statement or a grant proposal. Of course, those require full-on creativity and brain function as well. So these are things that we're frequently dealing with, and it can get really, really challenging, especially, like I said earlier, when we're on deadline. So one of the things we want to focus on, what I really want you to think about is that we don't have to, in fact, it's important not to fall for the hustle and grind mentality and expectations that seem to be put on us in society. Like, that's so dysfunctional, right? It's just purely dysfunctional. No one can just go without rest, without relaxing, without joy, without pleasure, because otherwise, what is the point, right? If it's just a grind, a constant grind and constant stress and constant just pushing and pushing and pushing, then why bother? What are we living for, right? So it's really important to change the narrative on that whole story. Like, we have to suffer for our art, or we have to work super hard and never stop. It's just totally unsustainable, right? Let's experiment with shifting our attention to bringing joy and pleasure and rest, relaxation into our lives and see what happens, because you're going to discover that it's going to shift the creative process from struggle to flow. And we all love flow, right? Who loves struggle? Not me. I don't like struggle. But who loves flow? I love the flow state. And we can't be in flow state all the time. However, this is the nature of life, right? We get to experience the struggles and the flow, as long as we make sure that we set the intention and we use the tools that can allow us to experience flow. Flow is impossible to get into if we are struggling. It's just plain not going to happen. So why pleasure matters is, well, joy activates the creative brain. Okay, that's what I'm getting at. So the the when we're experiencing joy and pleasure, the brain will create dopamine and endorphins, um, the feel good chemicals in our brain that can really help us make connections and think creatively and come up with innovative solutions that we didn't have before. And what it does is it creates the default mode network, which is like a neutral, open, calm space, not a sleepy space, but a calm space, one that's not unfettered and cluttered with all this mental noise and stress and activity. So the way we can get there is through deep breathing, or taking a walk, getting outside, um, uh, jumping up and down, taking a little dance break, something like that. So actually think about this. Think about the last time you came up with a really good idea that you were like, wow, I can't believe I didn't think of that before. And this is so great. And it could just be, it could be an organizational moment, aha, or a realization or something, that a piece that you've been looking for the next stage of your work. Any kind of idea. It could be a melody or something, right? Where were you when the idea struck? I can be pretty sure that you were not sitting in front of a computer monitor when the idea struck you. Certainly not in front of a blank screen, right? You probably were maybe taking a walk or taking a shower or just laughing with some friends or playing a word game or something. And boom, because you're in this state of relaxation and positive emotions in that context, just relaxing, that boom, the idea occurs to you, right? So as artists, we really need to make sure that we prioritize having time and space for that kind of openness, that kind of default mode thinking that can happen, of diffuse thinking, because that's when the answers arrive. That's when the solutions come together, and the connections can be made in our neural networks. So I'll talk a little more about that. The science behind pleasure and creativity really is like, well, you've probably heard that dopamine is the brain's reward system, right? For playing a game, or we're looking at one more thing on Instagram, or it our brain is being rewarded by this activity. And joy releases dopamine into our brains, and it enhances our ability to connect ideas, like I was saying earlier. So yeah, so where can we create those times? Like, did you ever get in trouble as a kid for daydreaming in class? I definitely did. I definitely did. Raise your hand. Well, there's something that's essential to daydreaming. It's like I was saying before, like that default mode network that's happening in our brain, where it's just open and relaxed, and there's an opportunity for connections to be made, insights to be reached. So also interesting, speaking of research, studies have shown that increased creativity with playful, joyful activities does, let's see, here's one study. Participants engaging in lighthearted activities were 50% more likely to solve creative problems. That was based on a study at Stanford. And also, here are two really awesome examples of creatives, famous creatives. Einstein, he used to, when he was stuck, he used to play the violin. He loved playing the violin. It gave him so much joy. And he could just let his mind wander and be in the flow of the music and not be working on that problem he was trying to solve. And because he's relaxing his mind, he's in this diffuse thinking mode, doing something he loves, the answers can come forward and boom, he's got it, right? So when he goes back to the chalkboard or whatever he was doing, wherever he was working it out, the answers can just come to him because he wasn't pushing, stressing, spinning the wheels in the mud. He went and chose something creative, calming, joyful, playful that he loved to do. Another great example is Elizabeth Gilbert. She has a practice of following the breadcrumbs of joy to get into her creative flow. So it might not be a rigid daily routine that she's sticking with every single day, but she may, as a friend of mine used to say, follow your nose, so I might wake up and say, I don't really want to have my tea on my meditation couch this morning. I think I want to be out at the coffee shop and see what magic happens while I'm there, which inevitably something magical and wonderful happens. I see someone I haven't seen in a long time, or I meet a total stranger who is just exactly the person that I needed to be talking to right then. So, and that could lead to all kinds of things, like a new opportunity, a new collaboration, a dear new friend, or hearing about some other thing that I definitely want to go see. So, yeah. So it's not a matter of hard work to get our work done, to get our creative work done. It's making sure that we have plenty of opportunities to be in a state of openness and play with our work. Okay, so I also want to talk with you about creating your own pleasure lab. Okay, so what does that mean? There are so many different kinds of pleasure experiments you can do. You can play with sensory things. So engaging the senses, music, cooking, movement. Well, that leads to physical joy, movement, dancing, walks, yoga, whatever it is you enjoy doing. Experiment, even if you don't know what it is, experiment with a whole bunch of them just to see and take notes of what it is you're enjoying and what's not so enjoyable. And noticing how you feel before, during, and after your experiments, okay? And you can keep a little journal about it if you'd like. I recommend it. It's really fun. There's also mental and emotional play. This you can do with mindfulness techniques, meditation, visualized meditations, even visualized guided visualizations. Sorry, I'm running so fast right now. And of course, journaling and other kinds of easy mental activities that don't take too much work, right, to do. This is about play, not work. So let's create a pleasure map. Like, think about activities that bring you joy, right? Maybe I've already mentioned some. Maybe there are some I haven't mentioned. Maybe there's horseback riding or swimming or making music, spending time with family, going for walks out in nature, visiting the waterfalls if you are lucky enough to live near some waterfalls. So yeah, notice what brings you true joy, what lights you up. This is really so helpful. And in the downloadable guide, the pleasure Lab playbook, I think it's what it's called. Yeah, Pleasure Lab playbook, which I will link in the show notes. You can go through this process, right? Okay. So let me get back here to my notes. Okay, so what brings you true joy? What lights you up? Okay, and then there are ways to categorize these activities. There are quick resets, which are like 5 to 10 minutes, which could be like a dance break, right? Put on your favorite song, dance like crazy, have some fun, or just get outside for a few minutes. A medium break is usually 30 to 60 minutes, and that could be like a longer walk, or it could be a good journaling session or a good yoga movement, anything, right? Just noticing, like, you can have quick resets, medium breaks, and you could even do deep dives. These are like several hours or even full days. So for me, I love to do on the deep dives, really like diving into just playing music for hours at a time and experimenting and playing and trying new things with my music. And or a full day, I could choose to go out on an art date and go to the museums up in North Adams and Williamstown and go see what's up there and get inspired by the drive, by the landscape, the leaves changing, the art itself, right? A whole day of just not working, relaxing, enjoying what's around me, what I'm experiencing, and the people I'm running into. So these are the types of ways you can break up your pleasure lab experiments. You can do a quick reset, medium breaks, deep dives. You can do the different types, which are the sensory play, engaging the senses, physical joy, moving, and mental and emotional play, which is like the mindfulness, journaling, and visualization practices. So let's make joy a habit. This is an invitation for you to bring joy into your life, ideally daily, and in the smallest amount you can manage to begin with. And just notice how, like I said before, the before you start, the during and after, right? How are you feeling before, during, and after you take that 5-minute nap or that 5-minute break? Sorry. Sometimes it's a nap for me. Sometimes it's just a deep breathing meditation, like I said. And notice, right? That goes into your pleasure lab playbook, your journal. That's part of your experiment. So noticing how you're feeling before, during, and after. So let's see. Here's some other things though. So sometimes we feel guilty about taking a break because of the hustle culture, because of sometimes for me, it's fear of taking breaks that I might lose my momentum and my focus, which is kind of funny and ironic because if I'm pressing on in that state and the ideas aren't coming, then how is that better than taking a short break, letting my brain just like relax and then coming back to it, where then boom, the ideas start flowing again. So this is a tricky thing that we frequently can run into, where we feel like, oh, I can't take a break. I have dear friends who do this a lot. I say, like, just take a 5-minute break or just take a 3-minute break. Just take a deep breath in. Feel the gravity of your body, gravity pulling the weight of your body down into your chair, down into the floor if you're standing. Just noticing the inside of your body, noticing your breath, noticing the temperature of the air. Just take a break, a brief break. It's one of my favorite things to do. So it could take 2 minutes, not even, to reset your cortisol levels, the stress levels, the creative barriers that are happening in there. So don't be afraid to take a break. Do it. Just do it. You're going to see that it's so much better for you in terms of your focus, your energy, your creativity, and just your all over feel good energy, right? So why not try it? And also realizing that we have external barriers as well, like busy schedules, family demands, financial constraints. But still, you can find 1 minute to take a breath, 2 minutes to close your eyes for a moment, 5 minutes to take a dance break. Life will continue. The whole world won't fall apart while you allow yourself just even 5 minutes. And then slowly work up to more time when you can, and schedule it like a meeting. Make sure so this is really important, to prioritize pleasure and joy and also the well-being that comes from it. It's really important to reframe it as an essential element for your creativity, for your well-being. Pleasure and joy are essential elements for your creativity, for your well-being, and actually for like everybody else's well-being as well. Because if you allow yourself some pleasure, some joy, a moment to rest and relax, you come out of that a better person. Absolutely, 100% you are a better person when you come back. You're better for yourself, you're better to the others, you're better for your work. There's nothing to lose by doing it, and lots to lose by not doing it. Okay, so I really want that to come through. If nothing else, make prioritizing pleasure top of your list, no matter how short it may be. Okay, some other ways you can prioritize and schedule this into your life is time blocking. You can block, maybe 5 minutes of your lunch break or 10 minutes of your lunch break or the whole half hour or hour, whatever you get, to do something that is joyful. For me, I love to get outside in the sunshine. And even if no one else is available to meet up with me, I'll just go and take a walk around the block, really soak in the sunshine and really appreciate the fresh air. And if there's still flowers and bees around, I'm almost always stopping to check them out and enjoy the movement, the sun, everything about it, the colors. And I'll probably usually photograph or videotape it as well so that I can, I don't know, do something fun with it later. Uh, let's see, what else? So if you are scheduling joy like a meeting, then you also will want to protect it, protect that time. Don't let anyone schedule over that. This is a promise to yourself. This is a commitment to your well-being and to your creativity. I have one client who has this brilliant idea of starting a joy jar with her family. So they each took these little pieces of paper, and on each one they wrote down like a fun activity they could do, and they they put them all in a jar, and it's all mixed up. And when it's a joy hour in her household, which happens at least once a week, they try to make it more often than that. But the minimum, if they haven't had one yet, they make sure to stop and do it. They reach in, they grab one, and whatever it is, that activity, that joyful activity, then that's what the whole family does for that hour. So it might be dancing, it might be s'mores, it might be a board game or storytelling or some other fun thing that they want to do together. Sometimes it's even playing music. So there are lots and lots of ways that you can integrate joy and pleasure into your life and into your whole family's life as well. If you have other people that you spend a lot of time with, definitely can share the love, share the joy. And then another thing is I found this to be really helpful. Make sure you find a community of friends, or a community of creatives who also really appreciate and understand the importance of joy and love and taking care of yourself, resting, giving permission to make sure that you are giving yourself this opportunity to experience what brings you pleasure on a regular basis. Okay, so let's see. Now we are going to talk about the Pleasure Lab Playbook. So this is a guide to joyful experiments. You can check it out. I will put the link in the show notes. And if you're watching on Facebook, in the comment section, put in playbook in the comment section, playbook in the comment section, and I will get you a copy of the Pleasure Lab Playbook. And it will help you create and track your own experiments. Let's see. Another thing I wanted to add, step-by-step guide to setting up your own pleasure lab. So the space can be a physical space. It could just be a mental space that's dedicated to joy. So you don't have to clear out a whole section for making sure you have your pleasure lab experiment happening. It can be in your mind, or it could be on your couch or in your chair or just in your body as you're walking. But if you have the space and you want to make it a piece that can inspire you to take a moment to create, to sit, to rest, to meditate, to experience joy and pleasure, by all means, create it. Like I love having spaces in my place where I have like a little altar where I can sit, and my meditation cushion is there, my yoga mat is there. And so I'm frequently reminded as I move through my space, oh yeah, make time for joy, make time for pleasure, do some downward dog, sit for a moment, raise up your shoulders, put them back. Like whatever it is, I don't have to do all of those things. That could feel like work. I don't want to like add a whole bunch of things to my already very, 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 very busy, long list of to-dos. So that's not what we want to do. We want to use it as a way to reset. How do we reset our energy? How do we recharge? Through pleasure, through rest, through closing our eyes, feeling our senses, right? All of these different ways. Find time in your day or your weekly routine, somewhere in there, to schedule some pleasure lab time. And like I was mentioning before, find a creative supportive network, a community of people, accountability groups, potentially people who are running workshops around pleasure or other activities that you enjoy doing. So there's a perfect opportunity for you to go and explore, experience something you are curious about or you're already passionate about, and you can meet other people who are also interested in those things. And so that just exponentially can add to your pleasure factor. And keeping your joy tank full. This is really important, right? Because we can't give from an empty cup. So, as I mentioned before, when you take a few moments or 10 minutes or a day to really feed uh, your pleasure quota, your joy tank, then you are not only more creative and able to think more clearly about your creative projects, but you're also more energized and open to other kinds of connections. Like, I love this when this happens, because for me, when I allow myself that time, and I might be coming back to the studio, and then I'll think about someone I have not thought about for like 5 or 6 years. Be like, oh, that's someone I can reach out to about this project. Or, oh, this might be a great person to collaborate with on this project. Or, oh, I never thought to submit my work to that gallery, these kinds of things. So this is like the breadcrumbs of joy that Elizabeth Gilbert spoke about, like that more easeful, uncluttered mind allows for more of these, I want to say robust connections, like really important connections can come through, these ahas, these creative solutions. And so that's why it is an essential part of our practice. No guilt. Don't feel any guilt about taking moments for joy, satisfaction, rest, pleasure. It is so essential to our well-being and to our creativity and to our whole career. Because like I said, these connections of like, oh, that person, I didn't think about that before, right? So let's see. A couple of other quick tips for maintaining a joyful mindset. A gratitude practice is super helpful. That can take any form. You can take a journal and write it down. You can keep a journal in some place that you go to periodically. And when it's sitting there, it might remind you like, oh yeah, I have an opportunity. I have a few minutes. I'll write down some things I'm grateful for. You could also have, let's say you're having a really rough day, which is your sign to take a break, and have some self-compassion for yourself. Be kind to yourself. Ask yourself, what might I say if what might I say to a friend of mine if they were having this problem, right? What I would probably encourage them to take some time for themselves. I would probably say, maybe you could go for a walk. Maybe you could get out and do something fun, right? So be that friend to yourself. Be compassionate for yourself. And when you're feeling uninspired, you can also turn to like a joy emergency kit. Like if you're just like, I am so stuck right now. If you have this little journal where you have all your little pleasure reminders right there, whether it's a, a physical one, paper version, or it's on your phone and it's an Instagram or a, what do you call it? The Pinterest or something. Um, yeah, I've known people, clients of mine who had Pinterest boards that they could always just open up on their phone anytime that they were feeling anxious or nervous um, about anything, whether they were at school or whether they're going to a doctor's office or something like that. They could just be like, okay, I know this calms me, makes me happy. I'm going to tap into my Pinterest and look at things that bring me joy. So there's so many ways you can do this. And I would love to hear how your experiments go. If you're going to do a pleasure lab, take notes, track again how you felt before and during and after. Do it for, 5 days in a row, 6 days. Do it for 30 days in a row. Do it for a whole month. Do it for the rest of your life, because you're going to notice that even with 5 minutes a day, you'll see changes. You'll feel different. Your work will be different. Your overall well-being and mental state will be different. Your relationships will be different. Even your relationship to yourself will change. So just remember that joy is a creative catalyst. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We talked about the science behind joy, the pleasure experiments you can do, ways to overcome barriers, and the importance of integrating joy into your life. Start small, but start now. This is so important for you. I want so much for you to have this experience of experimenting with joy and pleasure and rest. Let me know in the comments below in this video on YouTube or over in Facebook. Let me know your thoughts and experiences. Tell us about your pleasure lab experiments. We can all learn from each other, and it's one of my favorite things to do. I'll be back next Tuesday with another episode of The Thriving Creative, and feel free to join me then, and reach out to me if you like through the comment section here or in the content information in the show notes. I'm always so happy to hear from you, and let us know how it goes. And most of all, most importantly, embrace joy, not just for your creativity, but for your life, because this is the key to thriving. I'll see you next time. I send you so much love, so much appreciation. I adore that you're here and you're listening, and that you are going to create a pleasure lab for yourself. Sending all my best. Mwah.